200 years ago, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "If the American people ever allow the banks to control the issuance of their currency, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property, until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers occupied."
Throughout the history of the United States, there's been this running battle over who controls how much money is in the system. Will it be some privately owned central bank, or will it be the people, the Congress, for the benefit of everybody in the country?
Everything evolves around the Federal Reserve, a private bank that was given a monopoly on the creation of paper money.
Every $100 bill which the Federal Reserve System prints and is sold to the United States at full face value represents a $100 loan. Even though the government pays for it, they still pay interest.
100 years after Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln pondered these same issues. The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency, he said. Creating and issuing money is the supreme prerogative of government. Adopting these principles will save the taxpayers immense sums of interest, and money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity. What do the fears expressed by Jefferson and Lincoln and modern-day economists have to do with what President George Bush called the New World Order?
It's a conspiracy. What else can you call it? It's a conspiracy against the people of the United States and of the Western world.
Assassination of Lincoln was related to the bankers wanting control of the money. The same thing went for John Kennedy, that he was planning to reintroduce the U.S. notes rather than Federal Reserve notes. And of course we go back to the Constitution of the United States, which provides that the Congress shall coin the money, the currency, and regulate the value thereof.
If you go out and ask the average person on the street who issues the money, they'll say the government issues the money. That's why the lie works, because people know intuitively that the government should issue the money.
Well, the Federal Reserve is neither federal and has doubtful reserves. You will not find the Federal Reserve in the blue pages of government in any phone book. You will find it in the business pages next to Federal Express.
Congressman Louis McFadden fought the Fed to his last breath. He once called it a superstate controlled by international bankers and international industrialists acting together to enslave the world for their own pleasure. 2 attempts were made on his life, one from a man wielding 2 pistols, both shots missed, and the second from a poisoning attempt, but fortunately there was a doctor on hand to pump his stomach. Of course, a conspiracy powerful enough to cause both world wars and the Great Depression would have to have a clubhouse somewhere, if only to split up the cash. It turns out they do.
If you haven't heard of the Bilderbergers, it's for one reason only. They haven't wanted you to. At their annual closed-door meetings, no outsiders are allowed even close to the building. Here are gathered the most powerful individuals of the Western world, united regularly at club meetings. Yet nothing is reported by the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the LA Times.
What really fascinates me is the complete blackout in the American press. For more than 20 years, I've gone down to the press club every day. I check the wires in their library, mingle with other paper boys, and I ask them the question many times, why, when if 120 film stars or 120 NFL football players met behind locked and guarded doors at a remote location for 3 days, you'd try very hard to penetrate and find out what those movie stars or football players are doing. Well, I have no curiosity at all when 120 of the world's most powerful financial leaders and political leaders meet for 3 days at a remote location behind armed guards in a complete blackout. Well, I have no curiosity.
Actually, quite a bit of security, but it's discreet.
So what would happen if someone tried to sneak through the trees back there?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to try it.
What we do hear coming out of those meetings is incredible about the plans of the New World Order to consolidate power. Political power and economic power coming together at the highest level. But what I call the lapdog media, the controlled media in this country, you would think that they would be going to court, crying freedom of information, open meetings, sunshine law, and all of these things, but the silence is deafening.
Attendees at recent Bilderberg meetings have included Presidential Advisor George Stephanopoulos, Senator Sam Nunn, David Rockefeller, former Senator Lloyd Bentsen, and Henry Kissinger. 1 month earlier, 50 liberal groups met in Washington to discuss their opposition to international banks and economic globalization.